This is the Ramana Maharshi Self-Knowledge Satsang, a time for self-reflection and self-inquiry. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. Welcome. I'm Richard Clarke, hosting this satsang. I'm a seeker like you, sharing what we love. I have been blessed with years of deep teaching. I bring this to you with this satsang. The background image today is Ayyankulam tank. Ramana arrived in Tiruvannamalai on Tuesday, September the 1st, 1896. He had taken a short train ride from Tirukkoilur to get there. He immediately walked to the Arunachaleshwara temple. The temple was deserted when he got there. When he entered, all the doors were open, even to the inner sanctum, and he immediately went to the inner shrine at the great temple to see Sri Arunachaleshwara and said, "Father, I am here." Saying "Father" reflects his time at the Christian school in Madurai. While "Father" is typical in Christianity, it's not used in the Hindu tradition. Upon leaving the temple, and on his consent to getting his head shaved after being asked by someone, he was led to Ayyankulam tank and had his head shaved. He threw away all his remaining money in the tank. He wouldn't need money anymore. The next to go was the sacred thread he was wearing. He also tore his dhoti in half and threw half in the tank and wound the other half around his waist. He didn't take a purifying bath in the tank, as was usual before going to a temple. As he was returning to the temple, he was just wondering why he should give his body the luxury of a bath when there was a downpour which drenched him. This was his ritual bath. Thus he had taken all the steps to become a sannyasin, a renunciant, even though he had taken no vows. Now, here are some photos that were taken of Ayyankulam tank by Carol and I in 2009. First, this is a map showing in the upper right the railway station, the path that Ramana would have walked to the big temple, and then the path to Ayyankulam tank. They're all close together, as you can see. They're separated by about a mile. Then this is Ayyankulam tank. This is the kind of view that Ramana would have seen when he got there. Here is Arunachala from the tank. Across the street is Arunagirinathar temple. Before Ramana came, Arunagiri was the most popular saint in Tiruvannamalai, and this was one of the major temples in the area. Arunagiri was born in Tiruvannamalai about 500 years ago. He led a dissipated life, squandering his inheritance on courtesans, then his sister's money too. Finally, she offered herself to her brother for his sexual pleasure. This made him deeply ashamed of how he had lived his life. As his sense of shame deepened, he decided to commit suicide by jumping off one of the gopurams, the towers in the big temple. He climbed the tower, but before he was able to jump, Lord Murugan manifested before him and held him back. In some versions of the story, Arunagiri actually jumped, and Murugan had to catch him before he died on the paving stones below. Here is what Arunagiri later wrote about this. When I was about to shed life from my body, out of compassion for me and to elevate me to a better and praiseworthy status, you came upon the scene dancing, accompanied by your celestial devotees, and showered grace on me. His desires vanished, and he became an ecstatic bhakta whose devotion manifested as a stream of songs in praise of Murugan. Later, he traveled throughout India, still singing his songs, and visited many of the country's famous pilgrimage centers. Traditional accounts say he composed more than 16,000 songs in praise for Murugan. Most have been lost, but more than 1,300 of the surviving ones were collected into a book, The Glory of God, which has become one of the classics of Tamil devotional literature. This is a Ganesh shrine on the side of the tank, and this is a close-up showing to both sides of the Ganesh there are Naga figures. Nagas are the sacred cobra revered by the Tamils since ancient days. The Nagas were semi-divine beings, half human and half cobra. There is evidence that the worship of Nagas is older than the Vedas. So these Nagas are a most ancient figure in India and are still worshipped today. Next is a boy swimming in the tank. And finally, this photo of the tank with the big temple rising behind it, and then Arunachala rising further behind it. And now on to this week's reading from Who Am I? This is paragraph 33, Ramana's words. The, this phenomenal world, however, is nothing but thought. When the world recedes from one's view, that is, when one is free from thought, the mind enjoys the bliss of the self. Conversely, when the world appears, that is, when thought occurs, the mind experiences pain and anguish. This teaching is one that many seekers sometimes have trouble with. The world is nothing but thought. Certainly, if you look at this closely from a subjective point of view, thinking about thought, all that you know of the world is from the senses as interpreted through the mind and intellect by thought. This is the easy explanation. This is something you can verify yourself by looking closely in your own meditation. The Advaita Vedanta view is only that which is constant, always true, is real. What is temporary, what comes and goes, is not the reality. This means that what is real is being, consciousness, bliss, the self which is always, and that the world, the body, the senses, the life energy, the mind, and ego are not real, since they are always changing. Ramana equated this with a movie played on a screen. We think we are the movie, so get excited when there is a scene of a fire. But we are the screen and not the movie, and never touched by the flames. Another view of inquiry and spiritual practice is to merely look at what is real or what is constant and dismiss all else. Here, Ramana goes on to identify the world with the mind, so much so that when the world and mind are not active, then one enjoys the bliss of the self. When the mind is active, one suffers. Now, some ideas for practice. One example that Ramana would give uses the deep sleep state. There, the mind is not active and there is no world. A meditative approach is to look at your dreams. There is a world in a dream. Where does this dream world come from? What about your dream body or dream sense experiences? What happens to the reality of the dream when you wake up? Now, on to our videos for the week. First is Swami Sarvapriyananda, and this is an excerpt from a longer talk that we heard the first part of recently. The talk is The Two Birds, and this is the section about the second bird.
And then this is how life goes on until, it says yada, until by some great good fortune, maybe our past karma, maybe the blessings of the guru or whatever, we come across spiritual life. A real solution to the human problem comes. Jushtam yada pashyati anyamisham, that the mantra says. Maybe the guru comes and tells us about spiritual life, or you come across somebody said, I was here for so many years and I didn't know about this place, Vedanta Society. I said, okay, come and attend the class, attend the talk. So until that point comes and the possibility reveals itself, what is the possibility? The spiritual teacher, the guru, or the Upanishad, it comes and tells you something very interesting. It says, all this trouble you are in, the mess you are in, right here in this body, there is one who is above all this trouble eternally. Try to find that out. There is this higher bird. The existence of this higher bird is pointed out by the guru. Initially, it may be in the terms of dualistic religion. The non-dualistic religion, Advaita Vedanta says, you are God. You are one with Brahman. You are pure consciousness. You are the higher bird. But one may not start there. One may start with, there is an untroubled existence. I'll call it God, Nirvana, heaven, Vishnu, Shiva, Kali, something different from me. See, this verse is very popular with the dualistic school of Vedanta. Why? Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. There are two in this body. There are two, the lower bird and the higher bird. The dualistic school immediately points that out. Look, two, not one. So God and the living creature, the individual being, the jiva, we are different. So you can start like that. The word used here is Jushtam, the adorable one. The higher consciousness, the higher bird, the witness consciousness within us, instead of straight away trying to say, I am that, we can conceive of it as God. Right here, we can adore it, we can worship it, we can meditate upon it. And the whole of dualistic religion in the Vedantic conception of things is based upon this idea. Our own reality, the higher bird, start by noticing it, by believing in it, by worshipping it, by thinking about it. And this is how spiritual life starts. As we go a little deeper, we begin to realize, the Guru shows us, Vedanta shows us, you are not the body. You are not even the mind, not even the sense organs, not even the intellect, not even the consciousness reflected in this. You are the pure consciousness which is being reflected, which is working through this body and mind. You are not the lower bird, you are the higher bird. And as we go through this process, the different techniques, an entire range of spiritual practice comes before us. Directly, we cannot realize ourselves as the higher bird. It's very difficult. You see, even though we may get an inkling of it in the Vedanta talk, the moment you leave this hall and go back into the freeway, the higher bird has disappeared. It's all lower bird. You say, Swami, what happened to me? I think I am a bird brain. It's because the mind is not prepared. The lower bird must be prepared for the understanding. One preparation comes through work, through experience, by pecking the different fruits of the world. Vedanta is very relaxed about it. It doesn't say you have to believe in anything. Doesn't even say you have to follow this, you have to do this, otherwise doesn't threaten you with hell or punishment. Nothing like that. You want the world and want to experience the world, go ahead, it's there, it's meant for your experience. Go right ahead. We have got lots of time. Rather tongue-in-cheek, Swami Vivekananda says, take all the time that you want. Take your life, take many lives. That's what we have been doing. And if you feel that it's not working out, it's just more of the same thing, variations of the same theme. That's what life is. Then we say we are there every Sunday. We are open at 11. Come. And we are shown step by step. First, work. How you transform work done with desire for my own experience and enjoyment into work done as service, as worship, karma yoga. How we prepare the mind for this higher knowledge through worship, through ritual, through prayer, and through meditation. Sanskrit name for this is upasana. How we conceive of the higher bird in our imagination and meditate upon it with the help of mantras, visualization, and so many things. And as the mind becomes prepared, then comes the Vedantic teaching itself. That thou art, that higher bird which you are worshipping, which you have believed in so far, which you are trying to meditate upon, you are that. You are that. You see, it's like when I look at my face in the mirror, What I see is the mirror and a reflected face. I do not see my original face. And suppose I've forgotten my original face, I think that's who I am, the face in the mirror. What Vedanta is trying to do is carefully trying to take me from the face in the mirror back to my original face. The problem there is I cannot see my original face directly. I can see it only in the mirror. The reflected face is the reflected consciousness. Witness consciousness, original face. And the Upanishad says, Sakhaya, the two are friends. The higher bird and lower bird are friends. They help each other. How do they help each other? It is something worth understanding here. Higher bird, pure consciousness, is existence, consciousness, bliss. What does it do? It lends existence and consciousness to the whole of creation. So it's here with the metaphor breaks down. You can't extend the metaphor too far. It's the pure consciousness, the higher bird, the witness, Sakshi Chaitanya. Because of this, we have awareness. Because of that pure consciousness, you are able to hear what I am saying. You are able to see all this. You are able to think. You are able to feel. You are able to remember. You are able to enjoy and you are able to suffer. Because of that pure consciousness. That alone is shining through, percolating through the mind and the intellect and enabling all this experience. And what does the lower bird do for the higher bird? The lower bird also does something for the higher bird. The mirror example is very interesting. The reflected face can exist only because of the original face. Original face gives the reflected face its existence. But what does the reflected face do for the original face? It makes it manifest. I am able to see as an object what is not an object. That is objectified, enabling me to experience it as, oh, I am like this. As long as I think I am like this, perfectly all right. This is equal to me saying the lower bird's realizing I am the higher bird. I was reflected as the lower bird. I am existence, consciousness, bliss, functioning through body and mind as this individual person. Then it's all right, enlightened. But when I do not realize the higher bird at all, when I do not realize the pure consciousness, witness consciousness at all, and I think I am the body and mind, consciousness in a body and mind, it's like thinking, oh, I am this face in the mirror. I am not this face in the mirror. This face in the mirror is a reflection, is given existence by my original face, just as the consciousness which we feel right now is a reflection of who you are. If this little step you can take, mirror to original face, right now, if you can take the little step from consciousness in the mind to you yourself, that would be enlightenment. It's worth meditating upon. One Swami, he told me how he practiced in Himalayas, was regarded as an enlightened person. He says he used to, in the morning walk, he would go and mentally, as he would vigorously walk back and forth on the bank of the Ganges, he would chant mentally, Asmadrupa Chidagno, Asmadrupe Chidagno, Vishwam Juhomi Swaha. What does that mean? In the ancient fire sacrifice of the Hindus, you would pour some oblation into the fire. There's a fire and you pour oblation. You're giving offerings to the fire. To the fire. So Swaha is the word by which you say, I offer thus this offering into the fire. It's usually clarified butter or something. Now that paradigm he's taking and he's saying, in the fire of consciousness that I am, I offer the oblation of the universe. Whatever I experience, the world out there, the body, other people, all these experiences, I'm continuously offering as an oblation into the fire of consciousness, which I am. Think about it. What a thrilling way of looking at the experience of the world. Whatever you do, whatever you see, whatever you eat, whatever experience you have, good, bad, and ugly, it's an oblation into the fire of consciousness. You're pouring it into the fire. Literally, it's being poured into you, isn't it? Here I am, the fire of consciousness. And every experience is something that is being poured into me. And he used to practice like that. Until the realization comes, I am that consciousness. So the mirror makes that consciousness, makes the invisible face visible. The reflected consciousness, the little being, makes that pure consciousness tangible, experienceable, transactional. You can actually do something in the world, but you are not it. What does the original consciousness do for the reflected consciousness? It gives it its very existence. Without it, without the original, the witness consciousness, the reflected consciousness would not exist at all. The little person would not be there at all. So this shifting of who am I from the consciousness trapped in this body and mind to the original consciousness, the witness consciousness, that which is being reflected in the mirror of the consciousness, the original, this shifting is Vedanta. This is the thing, the shifting of the I from the lower bird to the higher bird. Then what happens? Asya mahimanam iti vita shoka. Very beautiful. Then our whole view of the world changes. Earlier world, life was a struggle and strife. Somehow trying to stay up, make do in this world. Trying not to be a bad person, trying to be a good person, trying not to be a failure and a loser, trying to be successful in this life, all defining ourselves as the lower bird. And a perpetual struggle doomed to death. And repeat next life, and repeat next life. That is transformed. The tree and the lower bird and the fruits and the entire forest, in fact, is seen as the glory of the higher bird. It all belongs to the higher bird. It's the field of experience of the higher bird. You as the higher bird, you as pure consciousness, you are not subject to death. The body dies. You are not subject to death. Nothing of you dies when the body dies. You are not subject to disappointment, frustration, none of that. All of those things come and go in the mind, and the moment you realize yourself as the unchanging consciousness, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham, I am of the nature of bliss and consciousness, of the nature of Shiva. The moment we realize ourselves as that, then the mind itself also will not be subject to frustrations and disappointments. Life becomes a joy. This entire universe is seen as the glory of the Atman, of the witness consciousness. That itself is shining forth as this entire universe. It becomes a joy. Enjoyment is joyful. Even the so-called suffering of the world is joyful. Sri Ramakrishna, in cancer, Hari Maharaj says that, Sir, how are you today? Oh, I'm suffering so much, pain is there. And then Hari Maharaj says, but I see, sir, that you are in great bliss. What a cruel thing to say to a cancer patient. And Sri Ramakrishna bursts out into laughter and he says, oh, the rascal has caught me out. The rascal has caught me out. The rascal has caught me out. Caught me out means it's true that I am in bliss. Even in the midst of cancer, when the body is deteriorating and is going to die, and there is actually pain. When the body is deteriorating and there is a disease, there will pain. There also pain will be there. But I am beyond it all. I experience it, yet transcend it. That's the mystery. And it's not that we do not understand it. We intuitively get a feel for it. Yes, it's possible. It's like, here is the mirror, and I am reflected in this mirror, and the mirror gets dirty or cracked. The reflection also gets dirty or cracked, obscured. But that is nothing to me, the original face which is being reflected there. Exactly like that, the idea, the feeling becomes very strong in all of this. It's a passing show in the consciousness which I am. So, this very world of suffering and struggle which the lower bird was engaged in, it now becomes a kingdom of heaven, a place of glory and joy and light. That's the true nature of our experience. It's because of ignorance, the distance between the lower bird and the higher bird. It is shown as the bird is hopping from tree to tree. But the distance is not a physical distance. You don't have to go anywhere to find the higher bird. It's right here. It's you. You don't have to wait to find the higher bird. You believe this, you keep coming every Sunday to Vedanta. After you die, you will find Brahman. No. There is no gap of time. There's no gap of space. It's right here, you yourself. It's right now, you yourself. The difference then, what is the difference? If that is so, then why are we in this state? The difference is, the journey is only from ignorance to knowledge. From not knowing to knowing. From not realizing to realizing. That's the journey. And once we do that, the result comes. We see ourselves as infinite and immortal, above, beyond human suffering. Life will continue, but life will be, then we will be Jivan Mukta, enlightened, free or liberated while living. It's the whole scope of Vedanta, the entire range of Vedanta we are speaking about in these two verses. We have a question-answer session coming up, Q&A session, where we can dwell more deeply about these and other questions. So let me conclude here. I'll end with a chant, my favorite peace chant, Purnamada Purnamidam. And let's see if we can understand it in terms of the two birds. That's not usually how it is understood, but you can actually. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Literally it means that Brahman is infinite. This manifestation is also infinite. This infinite has come from that infinite. In this infinite, if you can recognize that infinite alone remains. But if you see it this way, you see how beautifully it fits the two birds. That higher bird is infinite, and this lower bird is in reality that higher bird. This lower bird is an appearance of that higher bird. In this lower bird, here and now, if you recognize the higher bird alone remains. Oh, peace, peace, peace. It's really wonderful.
And now we have Nome talking about the reality of the self.
In eloquent teachings of the most sublime nature, Sri Bhagavan has revealed the reality of the self. To adhere to those teachings, to follow them, to put them into practice, is actually to become them. For the instructions, when properly comprehended, all revolve around this solitary existence. Of the nature of being, consciousness, bliss. What are you to do? Know the nature of you. That which is to be revealed is really never hidden. For existence cannot be hidden from itself. And there is not another from which it can be hidden. You exist. You are. Realize that you. Know that you are. Know that the nature of that being. That being is not a thing, not embodied, not conceivable, free from individuality. If this quintessential knowledge is realized, then you know what is to be known. Then you've experienced what needs to be experienced. Or may be said to have realized what needs to be realized. then all the temples are your home. And your temple is everywhere. And then all the holy events celebrate you. And every moment is sacred. And then all the mortals bear your own face. Yet you remain formless. All the prayers are answered. All the meditations have reached their peak. And the perfect fullness, which is your own nature, shines always.
And now we will spend a few minutes and meditate and breathe in and breathe out. Take long, slow breaths and notice the breath in and out. Just notice that you exist. You exist and you know that you exist without thinking it or sensing it. It's deeper. Now inquire, investigate within yourself, within your actual experience right now. What is always within yourself? What is always there? And what just comes and goes? Dismiss everything that comes and goes. What remains? Who am I? What is the nature of my existence? Does my existence come and go? All right, now let's close with a short chant. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Now, thank you for joining us today. If this satsang was of interest, I have more for you: a free book site, a YouTube site with more Nome videos, and my blog. The URLs will be on the screen next. And the satsangs will continue in the coming weeks with this series based on the Ramana Maharshi book, Who Am I? Thank you for letting me share this teaching with you.